We're going to start before sunrise in that quiet, heavy moment when a new day is just beginning. You know, it's a time when loss can feel more real, more present than anything else in the world. And our story, well, it starts right there, in the very heart of that feeling.
We've all had mornings like that, haven't we? Where a heavy heart just makes the world feel distant and kind of muted. This whole account begins in the thick of that exact feeling.
And on a morning just like that, we follow a small group of women. They're walking toward a grave. Now, they're not looking for a miracle, not at all. They're simply going to perform one last act of love, fully, completely expecting the finality of death. Just try to picture the scene. Jerusalem is still asleep, and it's basically locked down under a Roman guard. The hill where the executions happened, totally silent. And somewhere nearby, in a garden, there's a tomb, a hollow cut right into the rock. This tells you everything about their mindset. Their actions are all about duty and grief, not hope. I mean, they're carrying spices to anoint a body, not palms to greet a king. Their single biggest worry is a practical one. Who's going to move that heavy stone for them? As far as they're concerned, the story is over. Death won.
But here's the thing, while these women were walking in their grief, something had already happened. And the first witnesses to this, they weren't the disciples. They weren't followers. Nope. They were the very men assigned to make sure nothing happened at all.
Look, these guys were not easily startled. Roman guards were disciplined, they were hardened. These are men trained to face down riots and rebellions without flinching. And yet what they experienced that morning, it just completely broke them. So what did they see? It wasn't an argument. It wasn't some theological point. They saw raw, untamable power, a light that didn't burn, a presence they couldn't even define, and a kind of fear that had no physical enemy to fight. The text says they just collapsed, like dead men, guarding a dead man who wasn't there anymore.
So you have this total chaos and terror happening outside the tomb. But the scene the women would find inside, it was the complete opposite. And this contrast, it's really the central mystery here. It was a scene of profound, deliberate peace. Think about it. A grave robber would never take the time to neatly fold the burial cloths. An official removal of the body would have been documented. This wasn't a scene of violence or theft. It was a scene of departure. An ordered, intentional emptiness that just makes the mystery even deeper.
And this brings us right to the core question of the whole thing. What does this emptiness actually mean? For the women, their first thought is loss, the ultimate desecration. But the scene itself, it hints at something else entirely, an unimaginable victory. So the women are trembling, they're completely confused. They walked into a tomb expecting to find a body, but instead they find a question. And it's this question that becomes the turning point of, well, everything. Just listen to that question. It's delivered by an angel, and it doesn't just answer their confusion. It completely reframes their entire reality. It suggests they're looking in the wrong place for the wrong thing, because the category they've put Jesus in, the dead, is no longer correct. And there it is, the message. Not escaped, not stolen, not hidden, risen. And the angel adds the absolutely crucial detail. Just as he said, this wasn't some random accident. It was a fulfillment. Death didn't lose him. Death was defeated by him. Now, a cosmic event like this could easily stay, well, distant and abstract. But the story immediately brings it right down to an intensely personal level. It zeroes in on one woman, Mary Magdalene, whose grief is so deep that even this incredible news can't quite break through. Even after the angel's message, she's weeping. And this is such a human detail, isn't it? A broken heart doesn't just heal instantly. She sees the empty tomb, she hears the news, but the reality of her loss is still just overwhelming her. In her sorrow, she turns and sees a figure she doesn't recognize. She assumes it's the gardener, and her first thought is still about the missing body. She just wants to know where he is so she can care for him properly. Her love is still pointed toward a grave. And then he speaks one word, her name. And in that single, familiar word, the entire universe shifts on its axis. You can almost feel that cascade of understanding lighting up her mind. Faster than the sunrise, everything just clicks into place. And this is the crucial point. The resurrection isn't first proven by evidence or argument. It is recognized through relationship. He called her by name. So what does this intensely personal moment mean for everyone else? For you and me? Let's zoom out a bit and see how this one empty grave changes the meaning of everything. And here are the stakes. Right here. Without this event, love just ends in silence, evil often outlives good, and grief is always the final word. But with it, the story is fundamentally different. The grave is no longer the inevitable final destination. It's just a doorway he walked through. The Bible uses this really cool agricultural term, first fruits, to explain what this all means on a grander scale. See, Jesus' resurrection isn't supposed to be a one-off, standalone miracle. It's presented as the prototype, the first sample of a new kind of harvest, a future resurrection for all of humanity. His story becomes the promise for ours. And this brings us to the final essential takeaway from this whole event. It's so easy to get lost in the arguments, the proofs, the historical debates, but the story itself, it actually points us somewhere else entirely. Just like Mary in that garden, the core of this experience isn't about signing off on a set of facts. It's about recognition. It's about an encounter with a living person who knows your name.
And so the story ends not with a statement, but with a question that echoes Mary's experience right there in the garden. It proposes that the same voice that spoke her name is still speaking. And the ultimate question isn't just, did he rise, but something far, far more personal.